What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Scythe, and we have Bad Games more Trove patch notes. Yes, that's right. The PC version of the game actually has a little hotfix. It's both good and bad because it changes a couple things way for the better. But of course, as you would expect, ends up kind of breaking some stuff too. So before we get into it, I would appreciate if you guys would hit that like button very much. It helps me out. Also, I did kind of talk about this in yesterday's live stream video, so most of you guys probably ended up already catching that. But this is kind of the more refined, here's just the stuff that you actually need to know about the patch. It's a fairly small one. Hopefully console players are going to get it after it's been fixed again, because it kind of breaks a couple things, but we'll talk about that in a bit. So we have club fixture rent auto pay. So now we can actually finally set it up to go to your fixtures tab, and you can just click this little check mark. No, I do not want to confirm disabling it. But this is basically going to automatically pay your Clubit rent for the entire week, because otherwise you gotta pretty much manually go in here and pay the rent, which we're pretty good at it in Team Pixel because we got so many people in so many different time zones that can hop on and do this. But it's like, you know, most clubs just kind of end up dying because the club leaders end up disappearing or something to that effect. But either way, at least it is an option. So they also say rent will be paid as soon as someone enters the club world, as long as Clubits are available, which is right here. This option is only available to club members with the fixture upgrade permission. However, we've got a game-breaking bug. I have actually tweeted the devs out at this, so hopefully we'll end up getting a fix to it. But apparently, yeah, we can't claim our Clubits. I don't know why. You can see the message in the bottom right is just absolutely spammed, and then when we go to our club, we still, like, it's lying. It's not actually giving us our Clubits. So every club right now, so long as they don't fix this, is just slowly losing Clubits because we can't end up getting our daily Clubits. Like, that's how we pay rent, devs. Like, I don't know how they could mess something so detrimentally vital up by adding an auto rent thing. Like, how do they do it, man? I want to know. That's a feat into itself. Then we've got probably one of the best updates yet, and honestly should have come out with U10. I don't know why it didn't, but whatever, better late than never. 30,000 power rank will now affect subclass abilities. So obviously this is not going to end up being very good for most of these, because most of these abilities still suck in general. But for a lot of them, it's going to make them very good. So if you guys don't already know, let's just take the Knight subclass, for example. The 6 flask capacity, or the 10 jump on the Vanguard, or the 10 jump on the Gunslinger, that is all related to your character's level. So by having a level 30 Gunslinger, we're actually getting the jump stat to increase more and more and more. But then there's going to end up being the passive ability, and that's going to be affected by your power rank. So some of these are going to end up changing the way that they operate, but the Knight is probably one of the all-time best. You know, it already kind of was, but now with the 30,000 power rank Knight, we actually have 125 mount movement speed, which makes it so that you can farm with almost every character. I mean, granted, you know, your damage numbers aren't going to be as tight as some of the other classes, but the point is that your movement speed is going to be very consistent, and it makes you keep up with most speed farming classes. Like, obviously, a rage speed build is going to still be way faster than 125 movement speed. Even a Vanguard speed build is going to end up being faster. But the difference is that with this, I don't have to concentrate at all, and I can just keep running to dungeons, you know, fairly quickly, because now we've got that extra 5 movement speed, which is very, very nice. Now, certain abilities, they do actually mention that the tier 7, they call it tier 7 because basically the way that this works is at 5,000 power rank, every 5,000 power rank, you're going to end up having the ability, like the passive ability, end up increasing in its value. So 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, 25,000, 30,000 now finally is in its tier. So they call it tier 7, right? So tier 7 passives will either have a higher chance to occur or higher values. So with the Lunar Lancer, for example, you transform and you end up hulking out and getting like really big, right? And it's one of the most useful for Shadow Tower just because it gives you more attack speed, it gives you a little bit more damage. Near as we can tell, The buff that 30,000 power rank is going to do with it is just going to make lunacy trigger more often that percentage value ends up going up, while the attack speed and damage to it don't end up increasing. But not exactly sure. I mean, for something like this, it would be very, very subtle change with the 30,000 PR, so I honestly don't know. But certain ones, you know, like this one again, you know, the Shadow Hunter, obviously that's going to trigger more often. That's a burning proc that can end up happening, and that's good for rampages. Then there's the Pirate Captain one. I mean, obviously, we only really end up using 2 of them. Sorry about Jub. I have to record this video. She's barking at nothing. She's losing her mind lately. But the Knight subclass ability and the Lunar Lancer subclass ability are pretty much going to be your best bet. Then we've already got the additional updates, and this is probably the best category. Some of these are very subtle, but some of them are going to end up being very, very good. So they say that companions and reliquaries are now equipable items and are no longer found in the Geode inventory while used in the caves. All right. So I guess that they're not going to be shown up here or something. I don't really know what they're talking about. I guess just in the Geode Caves, they're going to show up in your normal inventory. Or maybe they're just trying to tell us to go through our class menu or something. I'm not exactly sure about that. Maybe we'll hop into a cave right now and just take a peek. /D&D, which is do not disturb, that pretty much blocks people from inviting you and blocks people from joining you. There was a bug with it for the longest time where if somebody already joined you prior to you going to D&D, or if somebody already invited you prior to you going to D&D, then they would negate the whole functionality of it, and they could still continuously invite you or join you. In a lot of cases, it was okay, because I would often, you know, ask someone to join me, then I could go to Do Not Disturb, and then that person could just continuously join me regardless, right? Okay, no, I have no idea what they're talking about as far as the menu thing is concerned. It's weird. But anyways, then there's going to be Spirit Spears. This is the Revenant ability, is going to... the animations will not continue if the Revenant dies while they are active. Now, I don't know if that means that they ended up fixing ghosting, as we've been calling it, where your character literally will get game ended, and then you have the respawn screen, but you're still walking around and fighting things, and can end up dying a second time. So I don't know if they fixed that. The blast flowers created by flower power now damage blocks at their height and above. They don't damage blocks below. So I'd want to see if they did that with the Draco as well, because that would be a big welcome change. Because they should do that with all of the bombs, I think, just for all of the class abilities. Because otherwise they're talking about the blast flowers, I think, is the ones from... yeah, that's the one from the Chloromancer. I don't know why they just refer to the in-game abilities as if anybody even knows what they're talking about. But I'd like to see a fix to this, because my Draco bombs are slowly breaking through the ground whenever we're fighting rampage bosses, and it's really annoying. So plants and ore, here's the biggest one, guys. Plants and ore will now be affected in the Geode Caves by patron, or not by patron, by gathering day, which means that it is affected by patron as well, which is absolutely pathetic. Okay, so let me tell you guys about this, all right? Here's a little bit of a backstory. So when the Geode Caves ended up coming out, single-handedly, one of the biggest problems with it that made hundreds of players quit was, first of all, that it's boring, but... But more so, it was because the devs made the lamest excuse ever, saying that this Geode area was a different planet in the lore, and thus it was not affected by patron. So it made grinding this place suck. Like, it was so unbalanced, it's so stupid. Like, nobody liked it. It was bad. And for the longest time, we kept saying, what, you know, make it work with patron. What's wrong with you guys? This is just making patron useless in this area, making it completely separate from the rest of the game, and it's stupid. Nobody liked it. And then they have the, you know, they have the wise guy idea to make it so that when you go to the Geode topside, then this area is affected by patron, because it's just normal farming, right? Obviously, it would be affected by patron, otherwise that would just be stupid, like the caves. And so now, after all this time, after hundreds of thousands of people already quit, they finally end up putting this update out. I can't complain because it's finally here, but Jiminy Crockett devs, like, talk about being the most unresponsive to your community. Like, that's just insane, dude. That it's coming way after. Like, where was this in October of last year? Not now, February 2019. After the U10 update comes out and nobody cares about the caves anymore. It's ridiculous, man. But I guess it's a good thing. Hopefully they end up doing this with more things. Also, to answer some of your guys' questions, because I know you're sitting there asking about it, it does not affect crystal farming. You don't get more crystals when you're gathering them out in the world, in the caves and stuff like that, which is a little bit disappointing. It makes sense, but they also have the Crystology and Geodean workbenches. You can now craft those in the Builder's Crafting Bench, so we actually do have those in our club world. I still got to try and find a proper position for them, but basically what these are going to be is there is going to be the Geode Workbench, which is just going to be fixtures and prop items and junk like that. Nobody uses any of these because they're so expensive. And then there's going to be the Crystology table, which is just the profession itself, which the Crystology table now actually has certain items, like there's going to be the Sunken Sunvault, Verdant, or Moonglow boxes that you can craft with lower resources to get higher tiered resources. However, it's an RNG box, so let's see, is the resources that we're getting out of this going to end up being worth the items that we get out of this? No, not really likely. I mean, I guess Quarkstone is still going to be really good, but still, the fact that they make it cost U10 surface resources is just stupid, because to me, that's just kind of taking away from it and making it more, like, the most tedious possible. Like, it's like, I don't want to have to go to both the Geode Caves and then go and farm Viridian ore as well on the surface of Geode, just so I can end up crafting this stupid box that gives me a tier 3 resource. And it's just... they just keep on riddling this game with stuff like that. Builder's notes. Oh, gosh. So there's more? Is there more? Oh, man. Maybe there is. But either way, then you can do higher tiered ones. This gives 4 to 5 resources. They didn't end up nerfing these. Haha. I don't know why. Another 4 to 5 resources. They also ended up making it so that there's a couple different crafting components for these, where you're crafting 100 of these items at a time. I don't know why you would ever want to do that, but I guess why wouldn't you? Either way, it's still cool that we have that, for sure. Definitely can't complain about that. So then they also mention, yeah, there's the new crates, which are going to be under Dabbler, Enthusiast, and Lethologist. These ranks for this crafting profession is just insane. And then crafted dragon souls can now finally be loot collected into their base materials. I don't know why that's a little bit late for my taste. Like, that should have been out the moment you could craft dragon souls, don't you think? So anyways, fixed some missing translations when the player's power rank is too low to receive loot in Shadow Towers. The Gem Expertise thread, which is the quest line that you'll end up getting, just if you haven't already done it before, you'll end up getting it in the top right, and it's going to end up teaching you about the gem system and stuff like that to a degree, not really in depth, but it's corrected now and says it refers to Uber 9 gem boxes rather than Shadow gem boxes, because obviously that was confusing to players. And then ring boxes now have an error message when they fail to open due to a full inventory, because otherwise up to this point you could just tap, 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 and it would just be like, why isn't this opening? Why isn't this opening? And then the biggest point about this update that I like the most is I was watching, like, I haven't tested it 100% myself yet, but so far it seems like they actually didn't mention but fixed the Dino Tamer alt. Because I was watching, you know, my pal Joe, and he was streaming Trove for like an hour and a half on his Dino Tamer, and he never once had his ultimate end up freezing. So I think it's safe to say that that's probably been squished. So hopefully they've gotten rid of that bug forever, because that was absolutely disgusting when you would end up getting stuck in your ult animation. So that means for PC players anyways, you can actually start maining the Dino Tamer again, which is awesome. Now we need to see this update come to consoles as soon as possible, but they need to fix the Cluebit bug before it can end up actually doing that. Either way, very cool little patch. Hopefully they keep doing stuff like this in the future and kind of refining content rather than adding content, because honestly speaking, that's kind of Trove's biggest problem right now is, well, it's always been Trove's biggest problem, is that they keep pushing out all this new stuff without actually making it fit with the rest of the game. Anyways, you guys know all about all my rants. Thanks so much for watching. Very much appreciate it. Don't forget to like, sub, hit that notification bell. And if you want to support me, you can always sponsor the YouTube channel with that join button down below. Buy some of the merch, which is in the description, or check the link down below to Gawkbox, which is a way you can donate to me for free by sponsored donations. Sayonara and stay epic, everybody.